What's up, y'all? Today, I'm going to be doing a cinematography breakdown for my latest short film in a review. I'm really excited to bring this to you guys and to show you how this project tested my creative skills, sharpened my problem solving, and also reignited my passion to make films as a cinematographer. So on this breakdown, I'm going to walk you through how I approached this project from a cinematographer's POV and some of the challenges I faced along the way. Let's dive in. So you're probably wondering, how did I even get this project in the first place? So it was just another normal day, and my wife and I were on the couch, and she was scrolling Instagram, and one of her friends posted that they were looking for a cinematographer for a personal project they were doing. It just so happened that I'd be in the same city, so I reached out. So we hopped on the call, and we wanted to make sure that we aligned. So after probably about a couple of days of going back and forth, we both decided that we wanted to do the project together. So now that leads me to pre-production. So pre-production for this project was Andrew and I, having a couple Google Hangouts meetings and whatnot, and just discussing like what he wanted to achieve from this film and what I could offer, just by myself as a one-man band for this project. Andrew did an amazing job of making a creative treatment where I could understand as a cinematographer, and in turn I would give him a shot list that I imagined and just some visual references that he could also look at that I was trying to achieve based on his script. Which brings me to the next part of this, would be actually doing a location scout. We already knew the locations that he wanted to use. Being that he's from Alexandria, Virginia, and this being a very personal story, all locations were shot in Alexandria. I used an app called Sunseeker to see what time of day the sun would be where in the sky, and I planned my shot list off of this. Now for the next subject in this, let's talk camera equipment. This is my favorite part. So I use my Sony FX3 and DGO Film R-less primes. I also use my Nikon vintage lens sets for a couple shots, along with a Sony G Master 35mm 1.4 lens for one shot. For car mounts, I used the Panther car mount, courtesy of DC Camera Rentals. And I also had like a cheap Amazon car mount as well that I put a link below. The shot where I used the cheaper mount was for the opening shot where the car wheel was turning. I just want to go back to the camera. As a DP, man, you want to have a setup that's good for you, and I've had plenty of cameras over the years, and I gotta say I'm really enjoying the Sony FX3 for a variety of reasons, and one, just being able to build it out to use it in a bigger, crewed up setting, and being able to break it down very small and use it on like a cheap car mount. It doesn't get any better than that. So now I want to get into some of my favorite shots. So one of my favorite shots is the opening shot with the title credit on it. I used a cheap Amazon mount plus the FX3 and the Sony 35mm 1.4 G Master. It was easy. I set the focus point, I kept it on manual, and we rocked out. So another favorite shot of mine is directly after the title card is when we see Andrew driving. We're looking straight through the front windshield, and we're able to see reflections of the building that he grew up in. This ties into the theme of the story of his hometown and reflecting upon his life. I think it's a really cool scene. I love the way these DZO R-less primes look, especially on the FX3 sensor. It's a beautiful image. Now the next image that we're looking at is Andrew coming out of the convenience store. So I framed this in a way to keep the car as a character in the film, as we're looking through the driver's side window that goes to the passenger window, and we see him come out the doors. So that was a way for me to add some, like a dynamic intention of moving in the frame without actually moving the camera. A lot of times for my cinematography, I like setting the camera down and have things moving through the image and not actually moving the camera unless it needs to be moved. So moving along, another favorite image of mine from the film is when he arrives to his cousin's house. The camera is mounted on the Panther car mount, and we're shooting on a 25mm here, and it's on the rear of the car near the bumper behind the rear driver's side passenger door. And yeah, I kind of hung the camera there. I was inspired by Schoolboy Q's John Muir video where they had it on the passenger side the whole time. So I took a nod to that and made a choice to put it on the back of the car and show him with his hand coming out, as you see, like saying what up. like we do when you pull up on somebody. And yeah, I thought it looked really cool. It's one of my favorite shots. Another shot that I really like from that scene is when he hops out the car and he greets his cousin Pete. I framed Pete in the driver's side window frame while having Andrew go dap him up and then move outside of the frame. I wanted to show separation but unity at the same time in the frame, so I put the tripod on the passenger side and framed it from there. So the next shot I really liked was Andrew at the track at the high school he went to in Alexandria. We got really lucky right here that there were people actually on the track running, and I framed it pretty high. And for this scene I used a Nikon vintage lens. I used a 20mm 2.8 lens, and I shot wide open, and I used a white bounce to fill in the shadows on his face because we were filming directly in the path of the sun, as I wanted to get a flare on my lens while also maintaining contrast. I used a Nikon vintage lens because I wanted a little bit more texture for the scene, and I wanted something a bit wider than the 25mm, and it turned out great. So the final scene that I really like was from the perspective of the car on the hood. I used this to show the windy roads that we have here in Alexandria, Virginia. And we got lucky that we still found a road where there is plenty of like foliage and different colored leaves, and some of the trees were still turning, and it turned out really beautiful. I shot this one in 60 frames, and I used the Nikon vintage 20mm lens as well. So that about wraps it up for me in this video. Let me know what was your favorite shot in this, and also let me know what you want to see in the future. I'm just Lamar Carter, and I'm out.